The residents of Houston, Texas are voting today on an ordinance that the mayor says is to protect the LGBT community. However, many believe it infringes on religious liberties and could potentially endanger women. Here to discuss the ordinance as it's voted on today is Pastor David Welch. Pastor, thanks for your time.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
First of all, for those not familiar with it, explain what this ordinance does.
Well, it creates a new set of laws in Houston under what's called an equal rights ordinance that adds an entire new layer of criminal laws protecting 16 different classes of discrimination in regards to housing, employment, and public accommodations. And of course, the key is that the new categories that are added in this ordinance that don't exist in state or federal law are sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, which creates a whole panoply of problems because of definitions of those particular categories or lack of definitions.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about the religious liberty concerns. What are they?
Well, first of all, of course, it creates a setting in which these protected classes, which are behaviors, and also gender identity, which is really just defined as your feelings about your gender, but essentially then denying services or access to accommodations and so forth, including things like wedding planners, photographers, bakers doing ceremonies for same-sex couples, or in case of restrooms or locker rooms or showers, where you try to keep a male out of a woman's restroom who simply declares himself to be female, would be a Class C misdemeanor, punishable by either fine or imprisonment. And that's the whole nature of that creates a threat against both safety as well as the free speech and religious expression.
Well, Ryan Anderson with the Heritage Foundation wrote that the scope of the ordinance when it comes to public accommodation is broader than the Civil Rights Act. Would you agree?
Yes, it is, because again, public accommodations literally is every mortar building in the city of Houston that's open to the public. And again, gender expression, there are no parameters. It's literally your innate express your gender, even if not consistent with that of you or yours assigned at birth. So there's no limitations or requirements for you to dress like a woman if you're a man or anything else. You simply declare it to be so. And that opens, again, a Pandora's box of just unimaginable proportions of threats.
Amazing. Do you think this ordinance will pass?
Well, the good news is that there's been a massive coalition of churches, pastors across this city for the last 18 months that have stood together from council battle to a year in court to get the right to vote. And now our Houston is up 90%. And all indications are right now we're in a very strong position to defeat this ordinance. And that's good news. But of course, today's election day, and we'll know tonight. But our prayer and hope is that we will be able to stop this in Houston right now, and then obviously be able to set the stage, a legitimate debate over what are legitimate areas of protected characteristics and classes, really, in a standpoint of what should these laws, should cities even be engaged in this type of activity of protections? Is there a need for it?
Indeed. Well, what would you want to say to the mayor and the LGBT community about their rights and those of others?
Well, the great news of our U.S. Constitution, again, is it grants equal protection, equal rights to all of its citizens. And so all of the rights guaranteed by all of the Constitution, all the amendments, are available to all citizens. The Equal Protection Act restored rights to those that were being denied them wrongfully. But let's face it, the LGBT community is a privileged class. They're highly educated, very influential, politically active, economically advantaged. So there's really no discrimination as a class. There's simply one affirmation of a lifestyle legally, and this is simply not a legitimate basis for law and to impose that over the rest of society. So we don't want to discriminate. There's no or desire for wrongful discrimination, but we have to have a discussion about what are the boundaries. What we expect in law, for example, that race is not the same as your sexual behavior. So those are the kind of things we care about people, all of our pastors, obviously. So what we do every day is to serve the minister to the community. But our first call is to proclaim the truth of God and his created order. We didn't make this up. Our call and our requirement upon every pulpit in the land is to tell the truth. The truth is we're created male and female. We're created in God's likeness, that he brought man the union of marriage, the covenant of marriage, to then go forth and multiply. That's his design and plan, and it's a beautiful one. And that's what we're for.
Amen.
And because of that, we have to be against anything that destroys that design and his purpose.
Thank you so much again, Pastor David Welch. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.